It's amazing to always notice how the Torah informs us things that we need to know that affect our daily lives and current events. One of the issues with which we are all struggling, aside from the general threat to the existential existence of the Jewish people, is how we as Jews are feeling, how we are acting, and what we are thinking. We know that so many of us think different things and have different opinions, and even today, those differences are causing some issues, and we wonder what we can do to help us as a people become one. And so I'd like to look at the story of Yosef and the brothers as a major lesson to help us understand how we can help each other today to become a more synergized nation of oneness. The question that is really baffling in this entire story is that the brothers sell Yosef and he is gone from home for 22 years. Now, in addition to the horror of brothers selling their own brother literally into captivity and slavery, we have the other component of this sale, which is the pain that the sale of Yosef causes to their father Yaakov. And for 22 years, the brothers seemingly do nothing about Yaakov's suffering. Fascinatingly, the rabbis tell us that when the brothers sold Yosef and they saw Yaakov's anguish, they actually blamed Yehuda, who had been their leader, and said, Yehuda, had you told us not to sell Yosef, but instead to bring him home to our father Yaakov, certainly we would have done that. And because of that, they demoted Yehuda. And the Torah says Yehuda went down from his position with his brothers. Well, if that's the way the brothers feel, then why don't they go searching for Yosef? And even though the rabbis say that 20 years later on the way down to Egypt, they entered Egypt from different points in order to look for Yosef, that doesn't explain why they hadn't done so for the previous 20 years. So I'd like to suggest that in order to understand what the brothers might have been thinking, we have to re-examine what is the critical issue that is concerning the brothers about Yosef and Yaakov in general about his children. And I suggest that the main thrust of what is concerning the brothers and even Yaakov is how does this nation get built? Obviously, Hashem blesses the offspring of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They are going to be this most incredible and important nation in the world. How does it get done from this group of young men? How can they coalesce? How can they unify? Does everybody get along? What about their different opinions? And to this, the brothers determine that because of Yosef's inordinate immaturity, his inability to properly convey himself and his thoughts to his brothers instead of presenting dreams where he's lording over them, combined with speaking negatively about them, the brothers decide Yosef is a threat to the unity of our people. He cannot be included in this brotherhood. Now, they do realize that they must have made a mistake because Yaakov is inconsolable. He's not able to envision a future Jewish nation without Yosef as a component of the brotherhood. They do realize they made that mistake. So why don't they go look for Yosef? Because in their minds, there's no way that Yosef would ever rejoin with them after the horror, the travesty that they did to him. He would never accept them again, is what they're thinking. So therefore, there's no going back in their minds. Unfortunately, 20 years later, there's a famine. The brothers are obviously not developing properly. The world is not going according to plan in their minds. Maybe they go look for him, as the rabbis suggest. But at the end of the day, they didn't really hold out much hope of what would happen after they met him, even if they did look for him. Incredibly is the emergence of Yosef and his own perception of the brotherhood. Yosef never felt himself to be excluded. He only wanted to be included. He never felt himself to be rejected and that he needs to take revenge and that he needs to lord over his brothers and he needs to cow them into submission. It's the opposite. Yosef says everything that happened is exactly what Hashem wanted. This is part of how we're meant to work together and move forward together in the future. That is the lesson that we all need to take from this parsha. We all need to adopt a Yosef mindset. from our broken relationships with our fellow Jews, to our suspicious questions about the motivations of our fellow Jews, to the fact that we've had maybe even traumatic experiences. Can anybody say that Yosef did not suffer major trauma at the hands of his 9 brothers? Of course. This was an unbelievably horrific event in Yosef's life, but he is able somehow, superhumanly even, to overcome what would be the normal human emotion and recognize the truth of the DNA of the children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We are one nation. We are meant to function as one nation. We need to synergize. We need to heal our broken relationships. We need to have a positivity towards our fellow Jews, even ones who have harmed us in the past. Of course, if somebody is now harming, we're not obligated to give them the benefit of the doubt when they're trying to hurt us, but we need to try to approach everyone from the opposite mindset, give them the confidence that we want to connect to them, give them the confidence that we want to work with them, and then all of our people, God willing, will show up to this battle, to this war, to this threat that we have going on today as committed, willing to die for our mission, for our fellow Jews type B'nai Yisrael people. That's who we really are, and that is our ultimate destiny, to do that as one. And so, God willing, if we really adopt the Yosef personality, we really think how we can look positively towards our fellow Jews, how we can encourage them to work together with us despite whatever trauma that happened, as Yosef himself does in our Parsha, and then even insists on living together and working together and providing for everyone and figuring out what everyone needs. This is really the mindset that we need. And God willing, if we do that, the Torah is telling us that that's what makes us a great and powerful nation. That is what builds the future of the Jewish people in Egypt, and that is what will build the future of the Jewish people for all the future now, including, God willing, the coming of the Mashiach very quickly.